Welcome to Part of the Solution, because what the world really needed was another podcast, except for this one actually cuts through the noise. Hi, I'm Natalie, your coach, speaker, truth teller, and your favorite no BS friend. Around here, we're talking health, healing, habits, hormones, and how to finally grow a mindset that gets out of your own way. There's no filters, just real conversations that might actually change your life. Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Part of the Solution podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Anette Oran. And gosh, how long have we known each other? Maybe 2 years?
We met about 2 years ago at Felicia's mastermind.
Yes. Yeah. Anette is, I said you were the original Chat GPT when I met you. Like, the things that came out of your mouth and the ideas, obviously we were in a mastermind. So it was like everything, the creative juices were flowing. We were all vibing. We were all vulnerable. It was wonderful. But she just continued to impress me the whole weekend with the way that she spoke, the way that she carried herself. And I could just feel who she was, like from her soul, from her heart. So Anette, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. Why don't you tell everybody why they should get to know you as well?
Thank you so much for having me, girl. This has been a few months in the making. We've been wanting to make this happen. So I'm so grateful to be here. And yeah, we met at a mastermind, a business mastermind, where we were all, sharing just really powerful ideas, and just getting to connect with other like-minded women was, as always, just the best way to get to know each other. And so for those of you who I'm getting to connect with for the first time, my name's Anette. I'm the co-founder of a company called Cohere.live. We're an all-in-one platform that basically makes it super easy for coaches, healers, and online service providers to market, sell, and deliver all of their services online. So we provide people with the tech that they need to start and run their business. But then also I'm a business mentor and certified transformational life coach, speaker. And within that, my biggest passion is to support people through the inner work and the outer strategic work to really bring their passions and their visions to life and to create a business that makes a really big impact on people's lives. That's really what I love to do. And so oftentimes, as Nat shared, I'm just going to say it, I channel some good shit whenever I'm like tapped into somebody's purpose and their passions and what I know that they're exuding and what they want to do. I can kind of like help people clarify what their vision is and where they're headed. And that's something that I freaking love to do in this lifetime.
I have definitely experienced that with you, like even just working with you. We've done a couple like one-on-one calls, and the downloads that come in for you are just, I leave the conversation, I'm like, God, how did she come up with all of these like amazing one-liners and how to do this? And let's use these words instead of those, like that is part of your superpower. But also like when people leave being around you, they just feel better. Like you just have a way, an energy, a vibe that truly makes people feel like their best selves being around you. And that is something really special. Like that is something that I think you bring to the table that makes you unique.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your reflection so much, girlfriend. So much. And I mean, it's truly like, it's the power of being around like-minded women. I feel like we lift each other up, and we can see sometimes being around other women who are, doing big things is we can see what maybe we don't see within ourselves. That's why we need coaches. That's why we need mentorship and community, as we get to highlight and see things that maybe we don't see within ourselves sometimes.
I want to kind of pivot and get right into your relationship with not only your husband, but the co-founder of Cohere. So I know a lot of people may be like, oh, I don't want to work and live with my husband or raise kids and work, all of that. So I would love to talk about your relationship with Paul and kind of how you guys started this business, or how you knew that going into business together wasn't going to cause a divide or tension or anything like that. So can you speak to that?
This is such a powerful topic. And I love that you bring this up because sometimes we're talking about like our backgrounds, how we started our business, but I love that we're going right into one of the, juiciest
Yes, I want to
things.
know relationship, communication, all of it.
Oh, it is so good. So when I first met my husband, we met online. We met on Bumble. We
Oh
really,
my God, really?
we met on Bumble. Yes, which is like so random.
It can happen, people.
Yeah, and just to bring people back, I met my husband at a time where I was very surrendered and open to like I was actually in a pivot. I know we talked about pivots right before you hit record, but I was in a pivot. I was like, I know I'm shifting out of the fitness industry. I don't know what else I want to do in my life, but I'm going to just kind of feel into where this transition is leading. So I met my husband 2017. We got engaged within 6 months and married within 8 months, which I know is like turbo speed for a lot of people. They're going to listen to this and they're like, what? You didn't even know each other. Around the times that we met, I was always very entrepreneurial. He had a business in the healthcare space. And we both really aligned on our visions for what we wanted to create in our lives in terms of like, living a really big life. We wanted to travel the world. We wanted to start many businesses. We saw a lot of the similar things in our futures. And that's, of course, why we knew that we were meant to be together. And, we just hit it off in all the ways. But we never pictured that we would start a business together. Maybe like we talked about, okay, one day we would like to have these like for fun businesses that, would kind of run without us. But it was very much like something like really far out in the future. At the time, he had his hands pretty full with his business and I was like in this pivot. So we never pictured that we would like start a business right away. And so fast forward, we get married 2018. In 2020, he was in a place where he was actually, very, very fortunate that he didn't have to work too much in his business. So he's like, I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to just really like enjoy the fruits of my labor. I don't have to work too much right now. I'm just going to let that, be a time of relaxation. And within a few months, he actually got this vision for Cohere. And it was like this download while he was walking in downtown Phoenix. And so he started the business. And at the time, I, of course, was super pumped for him, but I never pictured that I would work with him even then, even though it was gearing to be in like the healing and coaching space. I thought that was totally going to be his thing. I was going to keep doing my thing. And then we realized really quickly as we started to bring the Cohere platform and product out into the world is that our ideal client was really coaches. And so I was obviously a coach. And so who better to start really providing product feedback and like starting to be one of the first users to really refine the system than me, who had been a coach for a long time. And so we kind of realized that it would be powerful to join in as co-founders. And so we did. And I can't say it was like easy and that there was no issues in the beginning. There was definitely this transitional period where, we always like for many relationships, obviously I'm not going to like compare to anybody, but we never really had any fights. Like those first like 2 years, we were actually like we don't really fight. Like we actually kind of agree on a lot of things. Like it was just very easy. And let's just say when we started running a business together, like that's when the opportunities to, communicate on a deeper level really showed up. And for everybody, it's different. For us, it was through business. We realized one of the most important things, and we can dive into this on this episode, is that as a couple, something that's very important is your polarity, your masculine and your feminine energy. And typically when there's like a pretty good balance, let's say your partner is more masculine, you're more feminine, like there's typically a really good kind of flow of energy. Now, if there's two masculine energies, that's when there's clashing energy, right? And so what I realized is that me as a business owner, I can be very in my masculine. And sometimes you need to be, right? Because you're like making decisions, you're hiring people, like you're doing things that require masculine energy. And so that was one of the main opportunities that we saw in the beginning as we started working together is like, how can we work together without clashing, right? It's like, how can we create our own roles within the company so that we still have like leadership, like you're the CEO, I have my leadership over here, but it doesn't mean that we need to like both have like the final say on things. And so we established obviously like the systems pieces of like how to structure the company in a way that served our relationship. But the most important part of all has always been communication and like how do you work through things as they come up so that they don't get bottled up and they don't become like a really big issue in the future. And now I could say like we work together so beautifully. He has so many strengths that complement mine. I have strengths that complement his. We always joke around that I'm a really good connector, but he's an incredible connector too. And he actually builds deeper relationships even faster. And so like I'm marketing, he's sales, kind of like I bring people in, but he knows how to form a partnership and really build that deeper trust and create like next steps for like a partnership, for example. And so we're an awesome team and I wouldn't have it any other way that we work together. But I would say for anybody who's listening, who's considering working with your partner, it's like you have to master the art of really intentional conscious communication before you even start working together or in the process so that you can work together and thrive together in your relationship and also your business, which are two separate parts of your lives.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that you brought up communication because that is huge. And you really do have to either dial back, like to let him show up as the masculine, like you have to learn your roles over time. And maybe you have to take a step back when you really don't want to, because that is Paul's zone of genius or, whatever the case may be. And I think just in relationships in general, so many people struggle with wanting to be this way or that's just who I am or whatever. And nobody really realizes that everything, like there's neuroplasticity, like everything is moldable, changeable. Like you could dial back, he could step it up. And I remember you guys speaking on that at the retreat that we went to was kind of like delegating tasks, knowing your role, what's your zone of genius, and also the communication part. So even in life, even if you're not in a business, just in a relationship with somebody, communication is huge. And that's how you're going to avoid resentments, irritations, or drama, whether it's business or life. So I'm so glad that you brought that up.
1000%. And it's like, it's knowing how to communicate even in the moments where you might feel a little bit triggered or in the moments where something can build up later on if you don't clear it right away. And we have a process that we actually learned from my mother-in-law called the clearing method. And it's a process where literally you go through a few questions. It's her method, so I can't, I'm not going to share the questions per se on the podcast, but it's very intentional questions that allow the other person to be clear. So that means you're not building resentments, you're communicating things ahead of time, and you're keeping your vessels clear, clean, and you're utilizing every opportunity that comes up as an opportunity for growth. And that's the commitment that we have is business is a way of our, where we're personally developing ourselves and where we're growing. And for me personally, I could just speak for myself. I find that business has been one of the greatest vehicles of my own personal evolution. For some people, it's family. Obviously, that we can grow in all areas, but there's always one area, at least, of your life that challenges you the most. And that really, forces you to up-level yourself and just become the type of person who can step into the goals that you want. And so for me, it's always been business. And so anytime something comes up, even within our relationship inside of the business, I'm like, oh, this is a beautiful opportunity for growth. And I think even just having that mindset already like supports so much of the process.
Yeah, I wish I could bottle up that mindset and sell it to people of like, look within, what is your role in this and what can you learn from it? And then what can you teach and kind of give back or give away after you've learned it, and
yes. That's like, yeah, being like really focusing on elevating your consciousness as we were discussing before you hit record is like, it's everything. Cause then you could take ownership, You know what stuff is yours. You could even pinpoint, whenever you do get triggered, there's so much power in being able to verbalize, hey, this is bothering me because it's hitting on a core wound of mine versus I'm triggered because you did this, right? And so it's like even just having that level of awareness and ownership around your own feelings, I feel like that's like step one for everybody, whether you want to be in a relationship, a loving relationship, a business partnership, a friendship, taking radical ownership of your own stuff.
Yeah, and it's really difficult for a lot of people. So I think it's really wonderful that you and Paul, like that is the foundation of the relationship with you guys. Like you both probably had been through other relationships and you cleared out the shit and you realize what you don't want, what you do want, what you're willing to deal with, what you're not. And then you guys both came to the table with your shit together essentially and was like, okay, let's do this.
Amen to that. Yeah, like we did come to the relationship with a lot of personal work. And I will say, I wasn't a powerful communicator before I met Paul. Like I knew my stuff and I can journal it, I can kind of like maybe talk to friends about it. But when it came to having difficult conversations with the person that I'm having an issue with, that always felt very, very scary. Even if it was friends, if it was your partner, if it's like you're bothered by your mom and what she's doing and you want to be able to communicate that with her without blaming her for anything, but just sharing your thoughts and your feelings. That was not something that I personally was, raised doing. It was very much like you have an issue, you kind of like deal with it on your own and you don't bring up uncomfortable feelings. That's how it was in my family. Whereas his family, it's something that I love is that they're like, oh, you have an issue? Like, let's talk about it. And so I learned that.
Well, yeah, nothing's a deal breaker, right? These issues aren't deal breakers. They're just maybe uncomfortable conversations. And I think if you take away any emotion you have about the topic or the conversation, just learning to deal and communicate with somebody, regardless if it's your husband or your mother-in-law or your own family, like those life skills are so crucial. Having hard conversations and realizing like you can still form a bond and have a connection and it's okay is such a huge step in life that I think not everybody, it's scary, it's uncomfortable, and people don't want to do it. But if they push past the discomfort, like the other end of that is so beautiful. It's such a huge connection.
It's a huge connection. That's what I was going to say. Is like if you want to have a deep connection with a friend, notice how much your connection will deepen after you are able to have those uncomfortable conversations. Because when somebody's an acquaintance or even a new friend, there isn't that safety yet, maybe, to have those conversations. And the first time you kind of have like an issue come up again with a partnership or relationship of any kind, that's when the opportunity lies for that way deeper intimacy. You're vulnerable, you're able to just go so much deeper. And I do feel like it just overall deepens the friendship and relationship. Like now I know that. And I hope that everybody listening really leans into those uncomfortable conversations with all of their people. So good. And I know that you do that so beautifully with your partner as well.
Absolutely. And like I was telling you before we hit record, like there were some uncomfortable conversations that we've had to have recently. And I think a lot of people, we all go to like worst case scenario or what if it doesn't work out the way that I want it to. I went into this not attached to an outcome. I didn't come into it emotionally. You just have to throw it out there and see how it goes. And it was a beautiful, supportive conversation that I think grew our connection even more. And that seems so crazy to just have it was 25 minutes or so conversation. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we're even deeply, like even more deep connected.
Yeah. And I have a question for you because I think this would be useful for the listeners. When you want to have a difficult conversation, obviously it might depend on the context, but do you find it's valuable, like in your life, to say, hey, so and so, I'd love to share a few things. Do you have time to have a conversation like this sometime today? Do you kind of like plan it? Because isn't it so beneficial to kind of like give them a heads up and not just like, in front of somebody?
We all know our men, our husbands, whoever, our partners well enough to know when the right time is to go in and when it isn't. So highly recommend don't ask important questions while he's at work. He's in his masculine box, he's problem solving, whatever. I usually wait about 45 minutes. So that's my recipe. Till he gets home, he's relaxed a little bit because he's still in work mode. I don't want to hit him with just a barrage of shit the second he walks in. That's not smart. Don't do that. We all know same with us. Like, I would rather be finessed and loved and then have a uncomfortable conversation than walk in from a busy day where I'm still checking my calendar, I'm wrapping up a phone call or whatever. Like, it's just, we can't have a serious conversation as we're trying to get the kids out of the door. So I think it is really important. I think also, like, hey, I have something I want to talk to you about. I want to connect with you. I want to have, I don't know, serious conversation or something where I need your full attention. Like, is now a good time? Or can we do it in a little bit? And if he looks at me and he's like, babe, I need 30 minutes, like, I've got this going on in my head or whatever, I'm going to 100% respect that, support it, and be like, you got it. Like, I'll hold this down. You go, take 20 minutes or whatever you need. And then we end up having such a productive conversation about whatever it is, more so than it's like this resentment is building and now I just fire off.
100%. And I want everybody to really listen to this, because something that I find on the receiving end never feels good when somebody wants to express their feelings or have something to clear, something to share, is when somebody maybe just blurts it out, kind of just like, hey, I need to share this with you. And they just like, boom, like throw it up all over you. I'm always like, oh, like, thank you. And maybe I'm like starting a call in 1 minute and this is like going to throw me off, or this isn't the best time. Maybe like I'm navigating something. And so I like to also remind people to be really conscious of that. Whenever you're starting to communicate, always ask for permission, not in like demeaning way, but more so like give people a heads up that you want to have a conversation, and kind of let them mentally and emotionally prep that you have something important that you want to share. That way it is at a time when they can fully receive it and they can be present.
Yeah, because if you catch somebody off guard, who knows what their answer is going to be? Like, maybe even just shooting a text like, hey, I want to plan some time, or, something like that, and not just hit them with this like, boom. So I totally agree. Communication's huge. I'm also a huge fan of respect. We're respecting each other's times, values, like what were our family's standards, like all of that. So I think we just taught a masterclass right there on communication.
We did. Yes. If you're like, yep, I needed to hear this, make sure to tag us, because we want to support you in having these really fruitful and challenging sometimes conversations with the people you love.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. You can still do it with grace and it go really well. And you and I are both proof of that. So, okay, so I want to pivot. I want to talk about what the last few months of your life has been looking like, because living vicariously through you online has been so much fun. Anette and Paul packed up their whole life and they have been traveling all over Europe, all over, and it has been so wonderful. So I want to start from the beginning of like, how was the idea planted? And then I'd love to go through like truly pulling the trigger and saying, okay, that's what we're doing. And this is happening in 4 weeks or whatever it was.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is like my favorite topic right now, because it has been such a fun ride, and also something that I did not even have on my vision board for this year, which is also really cool because I'm big on manifestation. But this one manifested like out of nowhere. So let me share a little bit about that. So just to give people context, it has always been a vision of mine to work abroad or just be able to work from my computer. Freedom is huge for me. And so I always had it in my mind since college, like one day I'm going to like travel the world. I'm going to be able to work from anywhere. That was always a vision. And when I met Paul, I planted that seed and I said, I haven't gotten to do this, but for some reason it's still in me. Like, I want to live in Europe at least one summer. I want to experience what it would be like to live in a completely different culture and be fully immersed in it and like live there for at least a summer. And so we went to Europe for a few summers, 2023, 2024, I think it was 2022, 2024. At the time, Paul's very grounded. He loves his home and like he loves his like office and all his tech and like everything. And I'm honestly not a homebody at all. I want to be one day, but I'm really not. Like I could just kind of pop around and I'm good with that. And so he had kind of mentioned to me like I don't know if I ever want to like live in Europe, but I'm happy to, go to Europe 3 to 4 weeks out of the year, and just kind of experience it that way. So I surrendered the vision to ever live abroad and I'm like, "Oh, we're just going to vacation there in the summers. That's fine." And then this year, Paul took an international trip to visit some of our dev team that's in Pakistan, out of all amazing places in the world. And he freaking loved it. He went with low expectations. He's like, obviously he was excited to meet some of the team, but he didn't have any big expectations. But he left feeling totally shifted. The hospitality, the way people treated him, the food, the experiences was just like completely out of the realm of what he even imagined. And so he came back from that trip and he said, he also just turned 40. So I need to note that because 40 is a big number where you're like, I need to make some changes in my life and shift things up, right? He came back and he's like, "Babe," he's like, "I really feel like if we're going to ever live abroad, we should make it happen this year because we don't have kids yet. We're in this place where we can with Cohere. Like, why not just go for it?" And I'm like, "Excuse me? Like, I didn't even picture that you were going to want this." Also, I had already applied for my Spanish citizenship through my family. And so there was like timing wise, I think that planted the seed as well in him. He's like, "Oh, we could do it." And so basically that was January. The way that my husband is and something I freaking love about him is that when he decides something, there is no stopping him. He is an amazing planner. He just like strategy, but also researches and like puts it all together. And so he had already had like a checklist of everything that we needed to do to live abroad. And so that was January. And then by April, we were packing up our house to basically put everything in storage so we could rent it out. And by May, we left and we went to Barcelona. We spent some time in Spain. We spent some time in Barcelona, Valencia, then Lisbon, Portugal. And then we went to the UK. We went to Canada. We didn't like it. We went back to Europe. And then not that we didn't like Canada, but just the city where we were and the location wasn't the vibe for us. And then we went back to Spain. And so in total, we've spent 4 months traveling around Europe. And I'll share more details of like what it's been like and everything, but it has been amazing. It did take us longer than we expected to rent our house. That was something that we had to surrender. We knew in our hearts that it was a decision that was meant to be. So we're like, it's going to rent whenever the universe wants it to rent. And it finally did, which is exciting. And so now we do officially have like a full year starting, in August where I don't like the word digital nomad. I need a new word. We live abroad and the world is our home. That's the way I'm saying
Okay,
it.
so you're still traveling,
Yes,
basically.
yes. Yeah.
And you're traveling for another year?
A whole year, girl. A whole year.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
I know, which is wild.
Because these people signed what, a 1-year lease?
A 1-year lease. Yeah. And we don't know that we ever want to go back to that home necessarily. We love Phoenix. We love our home, but we just want to change it up. And we just don't know where we're going to like want to settle some roots down. And right now I have an opportunity through my Spanish citizenship that is official now to, if we could live abroad and I could, Paul could get residency and things like that. And so we're just treating it as an opportunity. We're staying open. We are most likely going to have like a home base in Spain for this next year. We do like to have like our stuff at least one place and then be able to kind of travel from there. And so we're actually still open and deciding what city that's going to be. But it might be Barcelona, it might be Sevilla, somewhere in Spain, or maybe potentially Lisbon at some point as well.
Oh my gosh, what an incredible past 4 months, but also like an explosion, I'm sure, in your mind's vision of like what is possible. And also, like, who is Paul all of a sudden coming home after that trip being like, all right, I'm down. Let's go. Let's move. Let's do it. It's not typical. Like, we are the dreamers, but, and like the thinkers and the doers and the planners, I think, as the wife. But Paul is a visionary, obviously, himself.
Totally. He's such a visionary. Like, I feel like we're both visionaries, and he is wonderful at like having a really big vision, and he puts in the work. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm great at ideas, but I'm like, oh, all the details. You know what I mean? I kind of get caught up in the details. He's a manifesting generator Scorpio, which I know you're a Scorpio too. And you Scorpios, I freaking love Scorpios. I just need to put it out there. Like, you know this, but I'm like, I just love Scorpios. They will tell it like it is. Like, you guys are just like straight up, real. I just freaking love Scorpios. But it is a crazy experience. Like, when people ask us, where do you live? Right now, we're at our in-laws, like visiting family. We're going to Phoenix, but we're like, oh, we live everywhere. We live abroad. And it always creates curiosity in people. They're like, what do you do for work? I'm like, we work online. We own a business, And so it's kind of been fun getting to express that. It's also wild when people are like, oh, what are your plans over the next few months? I'm like, we're going to be in, we're going to be in Spain in November, then Costa Rica, then we're going to New Zealand in January. So like, just sharing the plans is like, what? Like, what is our life right now?
I mean, it's not your average like 9 to 5 American dream life. And I think that is beautiful that you guys are seizing that moment, and actually doing what people talk about doing.
Thank you, love. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, there's so many opportunities in life, and I feel like there's so many versions of people's dreams. And it's so important to be true to what you really want in the season. And I do think it changes. Last year, we were so comfortable and grounded in Phoenix. This year, something came over us. We're like, it's time to change it up, And so it's just staying true to whatever is in alignment in this season and time of your life. And I do think once we have kids, we'll want to have like a home base. And so we're open to that too. That might happen next year or in a few years, and we're just open right now to receiving, what's true for us and what's our most aligned path moving forward. And I don't think you always need to have crystal clarity on exactly every detail of your life, because in my experience, there's so many things that come in from the universe, from God, as guidance. And it's about trusting that guidance when it does come through. But sometimes you don't even know what you don't know until you receive kind of these visions and guidance.
Absolutely. It's like having a birth plan, which really the only plan should be to have a baby, because you may have this beautiful picture in your mind of how it's going to go that's very aesthetically pleasing or this or that. And then most of the time, all of that is thrown out the window and this, insane scenario happens or whatever, and it doesn't work out. So I think expect the unexpected. And I agree with you. You don't have to have a crystal clear picture of how it is. That's what you wanted to do. And however you get there and that messy action you have to take is what it's going to take. One question I did have is having that just kind of next level, like knowing and trust within yourself and the universe. Did that make it easier, essentially, like packing up and leaving your friendships and your life in Arizona? Because I know that you have best friends out there. We all do. You have your people. And then to just get up and leave them, I'm sure there was a moment of like sadness.
100%. There definitely was. And I'm a firm believer, just because this has always been true for me, is that all of like my friends that I make in this lifetime, like I always see them as forever. That's just who I am as a friend. I have friends from childhood. Obviously, sometimes friendships and the way that it looks kind of shifts, and depending on people's lives and where they're, if they're moms, like it might shift the way that your friendship is. But the friendship to me kind of never dies when it's those true like soul friendships. And so even though there was like a little like for sure sadness of like, oh no, like I'm going to miss people's birthdays and, important events and just time with friends, there definitely was grief around that. I always trust that my core friends, like my besties, like we're always going to be like this. You know what I mean? And it's like those friends that you can go months without talking. And then when you drop in, it's like no time has passed. So I know that from experience because I have moved around a lot my whole life. I grew up in San Diego, then I moved to Canada. Like I've moved around my whole life. And so I think it's just kind of a natural thing in me of like, my besties are besties for life. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of go. And then I know that when I drop back into Phoenix this weekend, it's going to be like no time has passed, you know, like with your, those soul friendships. And so, yeah, so I think going back to your question, one of the biggest beliefs that I've realized that I carry and that I want to pass on to people, if it fits for you, is that I do believe that, you know, as cheesy as it sounds, the universe has your back. And I truly believe that life is always wanting to work out for you. Always. Even when it feels like it doesn't or it's not in the moment, it's because things are rearranging so that it can work out for you in your highest alignment. And so, because I have that deep trust, I've noticed that even living abroad, I trust that I'm going to find great people. I'm going to be led to great places. I know that I'm going to be led and that I'm going to be able to trust that the guidance I receive is for me and, you know, ultimately to help me grow and evolve and be the best version of myself that I can be in this lifetime. And so I think with that mindset, it makes it easier to move around because you feel taken care of. You feel like, you know, I'm like, God's got me. Like, we've got this. Yes.
Well, also, and that's one of the beautiful things about the internet is that you can still connect with all of these people on FaceTime or online through social media, seeing what they're doing, you know, like, so I think that's one of the great things about it. Let's talk about the people you've met along the way in this 4 months in Europe, because I know you and Paul are not keep to yourself type of people. I know you're out there meeting with people, you're probably dancing with people, you're probably coaching people at dinner and you didn't even mean to. You guys, you know, I just know you two. I would love to run into you guys at a pizza place in Italy, you know?
Yes. Oh, I love that, babe. You ask the best questions, and I love this question. So, something we did realize in these different cities that we went is that there were certain places where it was easier to connect with people, right? Whether it was the language barrier or just people's personalities, like in different cities, like, you know, people are different. And so I noticed, for example, we were in Valencia, Spain for 5 weeks, and it was primarily a lot of Spanish speakers that did not speak English. And so there it was kind of hard to connect. Didn't get to meet anybody where we're like, these are our people. And so that kind of felt like a deal breaker living there because we're like, we didn't really like easily connect with people. And now Lisbon, Portugal was kind of like our top place where we were able to connect with so many people because there's a lot of like-minded entrepreneurs, a lot of people who work online, all the cafes there, like people are working on their computers. So we met some incredible people. You know, they have ice bath places. Like I met some really cool people at an ice bath place. We went to meditations. Like it was so easy to connect with people. And that made that city like really high up on our list for that reason. And so yeah, we had amazing experiences in Lisbon connecting, and then also in the UK, in London. We ended up connecting with these really cool musicians. Like, I just want to share this because we're all into personal development here. Some of my favorite things is connecting with people who are different than you. I want to learn different perspectives. I also like to learn from just different industries. So we met these like really high level musicians that, you know, play at clubs like in Ibiza and things like that. And they invited us to Ibiza. And they're like, if you come to Ibiza, like, you know, VIP wristbands, like you're going to be with us on stage. We're like, done. When we literally booked our flights and we went to Ibiza, I'm like, what day? Tell me we're there. And so that was a really cool experience to just allow yourself to just be open to connect. And it also always brings me closer to my husband, knowing that like we can both connect with people in our own ways, but really easily. And I love that about us. Like he kind of can hold his own. I hold my own. I met these musician guys myself and then was like, hey, I'm here with my husband. Like, they're like, oh, bring your husband, like, let's all have drinks, and so it was just a fun way to connect with just different people and learn from people, grow, go to new places. So I hope that answers your question, but that's one of my favorite things about traveling.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, I am definitely I mean, I am a generator, so I'm very social, but I'm also the hermit. So I do like my time to just chill and like digest everything, but I would thrive in a social setting like that. I love to meet new people, especially like you were saying, like-minded people, people who you're just like, yes, yes, yes. And it's just an easy conversation and like you were meant to connect, that it's a safe space because you're all there kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, and this is what I've realized, you can connect with people who have different points of view, maybe politics or whatever, in different areas of life, but the thing that I find really connects us the most is like consciousness, like energy and just kindness. Like when you meet a person, you're like, this person's a really good human. And they can have different views. They were raised differently, like they have completely different worldviews, but they feel so warm. And that was one experience that I experienced actually meeting this really amazing Muslim couple in Spain. And he's from Algeria, she's from Morocco. And like it was just so cool. Like we went out to dinner with them and just getting to like hear their different perspectives, their, different religion, like just all of it. Like, why do you believe what you believe? Like, I love that. Like, I want more of that because I think that's what really helps our minds expand is when we surround ourselves with people with different worldviews and just get to learn from each other.
Absolutely. It's key having an open mindset like that and realizing that people do things differently. And also too, I think we can get really wrapped up in self and what we've got going on. And when you meet other people and you connect with them, there's this whole other life happening outside of what's going on for you.
100%. And it kind of motivates you because you're like, oh, wow, like I'm seeing this tiny little problem in my life as a problem. And like, yeah, you kind of see just different lifestyles. There's all of these different lifestyles you could live. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like when you go to the airport, everybody there is doing the same thing, but something completely different. And it's always this good reality check of like, ooh, I wonder what they have going on, or I wonder where they're going, or are they just going back home because they've got to get it to an event where their kid is there? Like I love hearing people's stories. I just curious minds need to know. And I could just sit there and conversate with people all day long.
Same girl. And I just remembered we're both 6'2" generators. Remember
Yes.
from Felicia's mastermind? I remember that right now when you said you're the hermit too. I'm the same way. Like the 6 in me is like the social butterfly generator, but then I do need my solo time and I realize that a lot more now that we were traveling. Paul likes his solo time as well, more than me, but I love certain days where I'm just walking around the city by myself and just those are the moments where you're actually getting to receive the downloads and the intuitive nudges. So you kind of need both the inspiration from people, but then also the inner silence and alone time to like really listen to yourself.
Yeah, it's like the workout and then the cool down, like you're getting all of the education and everything that was meant for you. And then the cool down is when, your heart rate comes down. It's when the downloads like lock in and there's clarity there.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So good. I hope everybody's been getting so many like good little reminders in this episode. This has been so good.
So how was working with Cohere while you guys were gone? Like obviously everything is online, but did that just go pretty smoothly? Like was it just business as usual?
Yeah. So one of the things that I really enjoyed that I didn't realize actually I was going to enjoy this as much is that we do work US hours because most of our clientele is like US, North America. We have people, all over the world, but that's like the majority of people. And so one thing that I knew we were going to have to do is that we were going to work afternoons into the evening and night. And I'm like, what's that going to be like? Are we going to be tired? What is that going to impact our productivity? I actually felt way more productive, Nat, because I got my mornings back. Like my full, not even like 3 hours in the morning, but literally from 7 a.m. till 1 p.m. You go out, you live your life, you go whatever you want to do, explore the city. You have a full day and you get to maximize it. And then at 1 p.m., it's around, so 1 p.m., I'm like not doing the math in my head, but I think 1 p.m. is like around 5 a.m. Pacific. And so I would start my work day at around 1 p.m. Maybe I'm off by a few hours, but yeah, I would start at 12 or 1, and then I would work up until like 8 or 9 with breaks and everything like that. And then what's nice is that at 9, that's when people are actually going out and having dinner in Europe. And so you still have the like 9 to midnight. Like you stay up later, yes, but you still have like you go out to dinner. And so I feel like I have 3 days when I'm in Europe. When I'm in the US, truly, Eastern is different. But now that I'm in Pacific, I'm like, I'm gonna have to start work at 8 a.m. some days. Like that feels so early to me now. Even though I like my mornings for like just slower times. And so, yeah, that's something that I realized that I really liked. So business went really great. August was actually September. Yeah, not as big as August, but August was one of our biggest months. And like we were so productive in London specifically was like our prime. And so things went really, really well. And now I just have to figure out my schedule while I'm in the US and how to not just work 8 to 8 p.m. while I'm out here.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about, like, your circadian rhythm and sleeping and just the shift that the body went through trying like, you flew over to other continents and, like, everything was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, what are we doing?" And then switching over from this country to over here, like, you've been all over. How has that been for both of you?
That has felt really easy, mainly because right in Europe, like everything is so much smaller, like the countries, right? So you could literally pop over and you're like an hour away to Portugal, to Spain. Like it's like really quick flights. I would say coming back to the US, it always takes you a little bit of, a few days of jet lag. But yeah, everything like I honestly have no complaints there when it comes to the travel. I feel surprisingly like this lifestyle is working out. I mean, maybe not surprisingly for me, but I didn't realize it was going to be so easy for both of us.
Yeah, that's because the desire is there and the clarity is there and the goal. Like, you guys were both like, "Let's go, let's do this, this is the plan."
Yes, and something I want to share with people is that I think there's so much value in having something that you look forward to. So for us, we would stay in places like at least 2 to 3 weeks, minimum, so that we really got to experience it. But then having something that you're looking forward to next also motivated us because we saw every single place where we were at as like a mini sprint. We're like, we're going to be here for 3 weeks. What do we want to achieve in these 3 weeks? Like, boom, there's focus. There's like these smaller containers of focus. So for me, it really helps because I'm like a sprinter. So I like to have like quick sprints where I'm like working on things. And that's how I saw each of these like chapters where we were living. It was like, oh, this is the focus right now. And so yeah, I feel like I totally thrived with it. And I'm already excited to be back in that time zone so that I can have my no alarm in the morning and just ease into the day, get my workout in, explore the city, and then start work at like 12 or 1.
Yeah, I can just feel it in your energy that is meant for you. I can remember just telling you, like, "You're not coming back." Like, I hope you realize that. I already know that, but, well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think that's a great note to end on, especially when you talked about, like, the little time that you guys had and what you wanted to accomplish while you were there. I think that people could take that into any situation in their life. So thank you so much, Annette, for being here. I'm so happy that I got to see your beautiful face and just chat with you. I've missed you, and I can't wait to see, what the next 6 to 9 months has for you.
Thank you so much, Beauty. And likewise, I know that you're in this beautiful pivot, and I can't wait for people to learn more about that. But I'm so, so happy we got to see each other. Thank you for the great questions and for asking questions that weren't just like the standard businessy questions, but really like life, relationships. I love to jam on this stuff. And for anybody who's listening, if you feel inspired to kind of plug into the different adventures that me and my husband are on, or you're looking for a platform to run your business, check me out on Instagram at Anette Oran. And you can I'm going to be giving some life updates, and I'm also going to start to share even more of like just life and travel. I actually just recently changed my bio because I'm like, this is something that I want to talk more about. So the recommendations are going in there.
Good. Awesome. I can't wait for that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Nat.